Today on the podcast, we're going to be talking about some really interesting news coming out of the field of biotechnology and how it is currently mixing with artificial intelligence. So the main kind of news is that there is a company called Scala Biodesign, and it is essentially making it easy to re-engineer proteins one molecule at a time, or 50, thanks to the help of AI. So today on the podcast, we're diving into this really fascinating use case of AI. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Welcome to the AI Chat Podcast. I'm your host, Jaden Schaefer. Make sure that you go to aibox.ai, link in the show notes, to join the waitlist for our new AI platform. We're going to be launching an incredible platform that allows you to build anything you want with workflows in AI. So you're able to chain together ChatGPT and image generators and audio generators to make really powerful apps for your organization, or you can host them on our marketplace and actually generate royalties from them. So make sure to go to aibox.ai and join the waitlist. In addition, if you like the podcast, if you could do me a massive favor and please leave us a review on Apple or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast. This helps me be able to get better guests on here as they check the reviews to see how you guys are liking it. So if you could please do that, I would really, really appreciate it. Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? I record and publish podcasts on a platform called Spotify for Podcasters, and I absolutely love it. Essentially, you can upload from your phone or computer, and it distributes to every platform that plays podcasts. They support video podcasts, and you can make money on the platform with ads or even podcast subscriptions, something that has made my life so much easier as a podcaster. So if you're interested, I highly recommend you give it a try. You can download the Spotify for Podcast app or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your podcast today. In the rapidly growing field of biotechnology, where artificial intelligence tools are increasingly leveraged to discover new drugs and treatments, Scala Biodesign is kind of creating a unique niche for itself right now. The company has recently secured $5.5 million in seed funding with a specific goal in mind, and that is to make existing or promising drugs more practical by molecular tweaking. So this is a really interesting concept that has been becoming more popular recently. And essentially, this is kind of originating from some research at the Weizmann Institute of Science in Tel Aviv. And Scala's founders have essentially exploited the advances in predicting the 3D structures and behaviors of proteins. And they're doing this with tools like AlphaFold and RoseTT-A-Fold, which is really revolutionizing the field. So Scala integrates these capabilities with other data streams and is aiming to expedite what has traditionally been a slow sort of, is pretty much a slow faucet of therapeutic molecular engineering. So the challenge in the biotech sector often isn't just the discovery of potential drugs, but making them suitable for mass production and distribution. That's usually the biggest challenge that we're facing here. So some molecular and some molecules really kind of exhibit excellent therapeutic benefits, but they falter when it comes to stability or feasibility, right? So they're very promising, but they have some big issues. And, the feasibility for mass production isn't quite there for them. So identifying which part of a molecule to modify for improved efficacy is far from straightforward. This is not an easy task, but this is one where they believe AI can play an important role, and this is essentially what we're seeing Scala Biodesign looking to tackle. So Ravitz Netzer, who's the CEO and co-founder of Scala, pointed out, quote, "Protein development process is very complex, and even in large companies, it's largely trial and error. So scientists engineer them by some flavor of random mutagenesis, but now that we know the structure of these proteins, it's clear that randomly changing things is not really an option." So what's really interesting, I think, here is that if you kind of consider a protein made up of a chain of, let's say 100 amino acids with 20 different options for each position, the number of potential, permutations is so astronomically high that randomly testing them, which is currently what a lot of different companies are doing, is incredibly impractical, right? Like the amount of random tests you got to run to try to find the best option, even if you're taking kind of educated guesses, is really, really difficult. So that kind of scattershot approach often leads to dead ends, and it's really time consuming. Obviously this in this field, this is going to be when it's time consuming, that means it's also going to cost millions and millions of dollars. So Scala has turned the corner by really kind of synergizing protein structure predictions with clinical data and observations from naturally occurring proteins. So the result
is a computational system devoid of any wet lab experimentation that can focus on high confidence changes for a given outcome. So whether the aim is to improve stability, enhance effects, or simplify manufacturing, Scala's approach helps refine almost their proteins into functional and effective ones. So if they're just really close, but they have some small issues, they're going to actually make it so that those are functional and working proteins. So as a practical example, the company assisted a lab developing a malaria vaccine recently, which was based on naturally occurring proteins. So the initial molecule was thermally unstable, which is obviously, posing some significant challenges for transportation and storage. We've seen this with a number of different vaccines and other, things where you got to store them at a specific temperature. It's super cold, and that's really difficult, especially when you're trying to get refrigerated vaccines to remote areas of the world where they don't have, say, electricity or other things, right? These are people that are in, great need of a lot of these things, especially like this malaria one, right? Malaria is probably one of the top killers in the world. And, if they were able to make it so that the molecules were stable in different temperatures, that would be really, really beneficial. So Adi Goldenways, who is the CTO and co-founder, remarked, quote, "They knew they had a problem with thermal stability. They gave one input and got 3 outputs, went into the best one, and now it's in clinical trials." So their CTO was also kind of emphasizing that Scala's capabilities extend to making dozens of mutations in larger proteins, a feat which is not commonly accomplished in the field. And according to Netzer, the depth and breadth of Scala's validation is very unique. So from antibodies to eczemas, Scala aims to showcase that major improvements to protein are not mere academic exercises, but can be scaled for industrial applications. So for now, Scala is collaborating with some unnamed pharmaceutical firms and labs, remaining adaptable regarding licensing and kind of business models. But the immediate priority is to validate and deploy their technology. The seed funding, which was led by TLV Partners, is their first financial round. And the company has now emerged from stealth mode and is actively seeking partnerships and studies with the aspirations of making protein engineering as routine as, they say, checking your email, right? But I think this is really impressive. This is a technology that essentially is available as possible thanks to advances in artificial intelligence. We're able to run these AI models. They've generated these AI models. They're essentially allowing them to check the molecular structure of different medicines. This is really impressive. We've seen some really impressive AIs used for drug discovery as well. And this is just another really impressive use case where essentially they're finding things that are really close to being a good medicine, a good drug, and they're using AI to test a bunch of different variations of the molecules to find one that works. So definitely a very interesting company that will continue to follow into the future.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. That's the sound of switching your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling. Harness the best converting checkout and same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Stop leaving sales on the table. Discover why millions trust Shopify to build, grow, and run their business. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech23.
Thank you for listening to the AI Chat Podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, I'd appreciate it if you rate me wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're looking for an innovative group of AI enthusiasts, make sure you check out our Discord channel and also our Facebook community. It's obviously a lot more interactive than a podcast where we can actually share software tools, prompts that we're using in everyday AI. I'll leave a link for those in the description below.